Hello, good evening and welcome to my humble model ride, Bedstead Junction. Now tonight we're having a little bit of a feast for the eyes for those of you who are fans of the Somerset and Dorset joint railway, and also anybody who's into the LMS or the standard class locomotive. We've got something here for all you people that are into those sorts of things. Now the locomotive we've got going around the track now is the humble Jinty. Very numerous locomotive seen on the Midland Railway, used in very many situations. I mean, on here it's pulling a one coach passenger train, and on the Somerset in Dorset there were certain local services which were run with either one or two coaches. If it was just a local service, taking commuters home and that sort of thing. Also, the Ginty was very versatile. Like we've seen being used as a banking engine, shunting engines, pulling small freight trains. So really, lots of different uses for this locomotive. Very useful locomotive. It's an 060, and it's a tank engine. So, in other words, the actual water's carried in tanks on either side of the boiler. It's in the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway livery, so that would be the pre-grouping livery. But I think the Somerset and Dorset actually the Prussian blue livery, and correct me if I'm wrong, that may have been carried on some of the locomotives right up until 1930. It was then that a lot of major changes occurred on the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. Like the unfortunate closing of the High Bridge Works. I think that cost quite a few hundred jobs locally in Somerset. But the Somerset in Dorset carried on really until March the 6th, 1966. That's when it was finally closed. Here we see our lovely little Ginty going round. It's a Hornby Railroad model, so it doesn't have a huge amount of detail. The cab won't be decorated and things like that, and there won't be a huge number of separately fitted parts. I don't think this one's got sprung buffers. I was wrong about the 9F, which does. Okay, and as you can see, it's a very nice little runner. Very nice little runner. Let's just watch it go through the country station over here. The humble Ginty, waiting through to pick up its local passenger services. And very often these will be paired up with locomotives like the 7F on heavy freight trains. So the actual 7F will be leading the train, be on the front of the train, and the actual banking engine will be pushing from the back. And coming out of Bath Green Park, I think the banking assistance carried on into the entrance of Coombe Tunnel, and I think from then on going southbound, I think the Coombe Tunnel was going on a downward slope, so it no longer needed it. In fact, if you look at Ivo Peter's videos, you can see a video of the banker being unhooked and being left behind it, and it would actually proceed back a wrong road back into Bath Green Park. Okay, so that's the lovely humble Ginty. We can see going around there. Now I've got quite a pile of boxes by the side of me now because I keep everything boxed if I can, and it's all going to have to go away tonight, so we'll be carrying on for quite some time filming and then editing. I've already put a video out today which is about my new arrival Evening Star, but I didn't run that with any rolling stock, so we're going to run this one tonight as an additional bonus feature again, just to see what it looks like with rolling stock. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run our lovely Ginty into our local passenger station over there. So we're going to slow down now just before the points. and you'll see how our Jinty goes over points. So you can see the junction there, which it needs to cross. Okay, so, and then off we go. Over the junction. Perfect. Lovely. Straight into the halt. And there we are. It's leaving it. It's there allowing its passengers to disembark. Now the next thing we'll be looking at is a freight train. You'll see it there in the goods shed there. A variety of wagons. And I'm not sure these wagons are typical of what would be seen on the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, but certainly right up until the late 50s, early 1960s, freight was a very, very important traffic for the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. There would have been coal from the Withington quarries, coal mines, not quarries, Withington coal mines, places like that. There might have been beer carried. I think beer was brewed in Blandford. So various different traffic could be carried over the Somerset and Dorset. And we'll go over how the Somerset and Dorset came about as well. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to change the points now. And we're going to take a look at our 4F. Now we've got an example of two different manufacturers here. So the first one you saw there was the Hornby Railroad Ginty. Fantastic little locomotive. You'll get one for a good price. I got mine boxed. Yes, definitely worth going for. And this is another locomotive I can recommend you. In fact, I can recommend all of these locomotives which are on the railroad tonight. And this is the 4F. We'll just watch this one come out of the shed. You see it reversing back over the points. It's gone back over the points quite well there. Okay. And it's carrying quite an interesting little freight train here. Now this model here, where you went from the railroad range, this particular Bachmann locomotive here, you could literally say it's a full fat version. Okay, so it's got a decorated cab, separately fitted parts. It really is a full fat version. Now we're just going to put it into 4 gear and watch it go round. Now again, the 4F, it's an 060. Now at one time, before the building of the 7Fs, these were the most powerful freight locomotives which the Midland Railway actually had in use. Now there was a reason for that, in that certainly right up until the late 1800s, the Midland Railway pursued a small engine policy. Now the idea behind that would be lots of lightly laden, fast and frequent services. But what that meant very often with freight on the Midland was a fair bit of double heading with these 4Fs. 060 locomotives, tender locomotive as you can see, and this one is by Bachmann. Okay, so it's a Bachmann locomotive. Excuse me if I get a little bit off track tonight with my narration. I did a video earlier on where the temperature was 80 degrees in this room, and the temperature has not dropped at all, even though I've got the window wide open. I've got the curtain shut because it looks a lot better with the curtain shut when I'm filming. You see our 4F going around the track here. It's putting a Hornby KP Peanuts wagon, a Smith's Crisp wagon, Sacks of Salt, and Royal Daylights. I believe that's something like heating oil, something like that we're carrying there. Okay, oil or paraffin. And then we're using a Great Western freight van. But we can kind of imagine this one kind of went astray from the Great Western onto the Somerset and Dorset, and they're keeping a bit quiet about it. But anyway, there we got it. So it's going around the track now. And in fact, after 1959, the Somerset and Dorset, in fact, quite a lot of the former Southern Railway and Midland Railway came under control of the Western Region of British Rail. Some people blame blame the closure of the Somerset and Dorset on the fact it was transferred to the Great Western Region of British Rail. But really, in effect, the true reason why a lot of railways closed was because of the Beeching Acts. And there's like a couple of thousand stations, 5,000 miles of track, and really it wasn't just a Somerset and Dorset joint railway. I mean, in the 1960s, right up until the closure carried on until about the mid-70s, there was just a huge number of railway lines closed down, whether they were either former Great Western lines or Midland or Southern lines. Now, our 4F then is going around the track. Now, these again on the Somerset and Dorset were used in different ways. Now, they were used for local passenger services. So they would very often pull sort of 2 or 3 coaches on local passenger trains. Obviously, they were used for freight. Okay. But what happened was that after the Second World War, there was an explosion in the taking of holidays. Air travel ain't quite come about, and lots of people wanted to go from the north of England to Bournemouth, and that resulted in lots of heavily laden trains going up over the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway over a gradient of 1 in 50. Now, where these were often used, believe it or not, they were drafted into express passenger services, and they were very often seen double heading as pilot engines in front of 7Fs. So these heavy passenger trains, you could see actually through the late 50s into the 1960s a great variety of locomotives, very often double headed in what may appear to be unusual combinations. The Class 2P locomotive, the 440s, were very often used as pilot engines on the heavy expresses. So these 4Fs again were very versatile. I think the only thing from what I've read is that on these, if they were used on express passenger trains, the axle boxes could tend to get a little bit hot. But then, you know, you're running a freight engines on passenger trains, express passenger trains. Okay, so that's our 4F. Go around the track now. Bachmann, beautiful full fat version. Let's pull in. I'll just explain to you a few of the features. I mean, we're not doing a full review of these locomotives. I'm going to zoom out just a little. I think you can see it there. This one I think was actually used on the Somerset and Dorset at a certain point. Certain things you get on these locomotives, lots of separately fitted parts, of course. Sprung buffers. Yeah, it's got sprung buffers there. It's got a fair amount of stuff in the accessory pack. It's got the metal whistles and safety valves there. Okay. Fitted vacuum pipes on the front. So for an 060 tender locomotive, quite a nice little locomotive. The coal load looks quite nice, I think. The Bachmann tend to do a shiny coal load, and that very often that can be seen as a coal load. Maybe that's been sprayed down with water, because they did that to be able to suppress dust. Okay, that's why they actually sprayed the coal loads with water. I don't know if we'll be able to see it from here. We'll be some distance away. I'm not going to be using the Lazy Susan. Let's see if we can shine down inside the cab. You may be just about see inside the cab there. Bit jerky there on the tripod. Okay, yes, you can see it there. It's got the fully decorated cab. Okay, so that sort of makes it into a full fat model. In fact, I don't think Bachmann offer an equivalent of the Railroad range. Okay, But these locomotives, I mean, up until now, every Bachmann locomotive I bought, for me, it seems to be quite well made and durable. I've not had any parts falling off of any of these, so very nice locomotive to have. Now what we'll do is we're going to put away nicely there. You can see, nice and gentle. Good runners as well. I mean, nice little runners. To the station we go there, carrying its freight trains. And I don't know whether it's coincidence or not, but I will freely admit to having quite a big weakness for peanuts and crisps, and I probably put far too much salt on my fish and chips, and it's good for me. But then again, I do enjoy it. Okay, so now then, so round goes our freight train there, and we're going to be putting in and be having a look at another locomotive in just a few moments time. Now we might be running over the 30-minute time limit on my recordings, but I think it's worth running through and having a nice little look at these locomotives running tonight, and you can get full benefit of my running session. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to run our lovely 4F into the station again, well into the goods shed, and it can deliver my peanuts for me and my crisps. Okay, so round we go there to the junction. I'm going to watch it go in over the junction again. You can see how this one handles points. Gliding over the points there, gliding over the points. I think we're into the goods shed far enough there now. Right, so far we've seen a Jinty, and we've seen a 4F freight locomotive. Now the next locomotive we're going to see is a locomotive that's unique to the Somerset and Dorset, and it's just beyond the 9F there. Let's zoom out a little. There we are. It's a black locomotive there with LMS on the tender, and this is a 7F. Now we're just going to change the points. Now you'll see, even though it's a freight locomotive, like I say, these were very often used to pull the heavy express passenger services over the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. In fact, I think they would probably use anything that moved with a boiler attached to it. And that might be, I might be wrong on that, but it would appear that they would use almost anything as long as it meant they could pull their heavy express trains over Masbury Summit, then on to Everqueech, and then on to Bournemouth. So here we go with our lovely 7F. Again, it's a Bachmann model. We'll just put the controller into reverse, and I'm going to just change the points so we can reverse out. Now locomotives reversing on the Somerset in Dorset out of a station. Of course there was a place where that would actually happen. I'll go into that in just a moment. Right, so let's have a look now. Let's see how it goes. Over those points beautifully. I mean, no problem at all. Every one of these locomotives are perfectly good at running over points. Now what we're about to see is in LMS livery, so that would be kind of pre-war livery, pre-nationalisation LMS, and it would be after the grouping. The London Midland Scottish is actually from the carried on after the grouping of 1923. So I'm guessing we're looking at from 1923 up until nationalisation, which would have been in 1948. Okay, now let's just change the point so we can go onto the main line, straight down the main line now. And we're trying as always not to kick the tripod over. There we are. And we're just going to go into forward gear. Now I think there were 11 of these actually built, especially for the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. And the reason again was because of the small engine policy on the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, they needed a more powerful locomotives to get the longer and heavier freight trains over the gradients. So these were specially designed as a 280. Now, two different things you've got to bear in mind. Over an 060 or say a 260 or a 460, you've got the extra set of driving wheels, and that's important for traction, not only in climbing up the gradients but for braking coming down as well, I should imagine. Okay, so two of these have been preserved. I think it's 53807 and 53808. I think one's on the Midland Rail Centre at Butterley, at least it was last time I looked, but that could have changed. But then 53808 is, as far as I'm aware, on the West Somerset Railway. And I've actually had the good fortune quite some years ago to be on a train that was actually being propelled by number 53808. I think this one is number 10. Yeah, it's 13810, which is the Midland number it would have been given. You're not going to see it's a Bachmann locomotive, and a very, very nice locomotive. I did pay quite a lot for this one, I'm not going to say, because at the end of the day, as always during the pandemic, and I think lots of people were looking for to expand their hobby while they were locked down, maybe. People were buying locomotives up all over the place, and certain ones were getting hard to find. Now there is one in the original Prussian blue livery, the special edition, and they can be very expensive. And I'm not even going to tell you what I paid for this one, but I'm very happy with it. At the time, I think it was the best example on offer. I always go for box versions, and I think as a sign, I mean, I could be wrong, but I always go for the best boxes as well, because I like to have a box item. I like the old experience of it. It was a second-hand locomotive. We'll have a closer look at her in a moment. Now these, of course, they could be seen on heavy freights. They could sometimes be seen even wandering away from Bathwing Park down the Mansfield branch. Okay, anywhere where heavy freight was needed to be shifted. And coming back to the Ginty, very often these were banked by a Jinty if they were on a heavy freight train. But again, these were pressed into service, especially during busy summer Saturdays, time like that, when they needed extra motive power to pull the express trains over the gradients of the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. What a beautiful locomotive, 2807F. Like I say, at the time when I bought this, they were hard to find. I don't know whether the situation changed. I haven't looked on eBay for one lately. We'll have a little look at her close up. Let's see if we can pull her in a little bit. A little bit closer to the controller here, so you might see my hand getting in the way of everything. Okay, so it's been given the number 13810, and I think under nationalisation it'll be 53810. Okay, once it was nationalisation had taken place, they would get renumbered. As far as I'm aware, because it's again a full fat version, yes, you do get the sprung buffers. Again, lots of separately fitted parts. I say you get the brass whistle and safety valves, fully glazed cab. again, as in Batman, you're going to be getting a shiny coal load. Again, like I say, I like it. I like shiny coal loads. Personal preferences, of course. Lots of separately fitted parts down there. I mean, you're looking at above, you can even see that. And then we'll have a look inside the cab if we can get inside. Just move around a little bit and we'll see if we can see inside the cab. There we are. Again, we can see inside that cab now. We can see it's a fully painted up, fully decorated cab. Representation of all the brass fittings there. Everything painted up lovely. What a super locomotive by Batman. Lovely detail. Proud to have this in my collection. It's putting LMS coaches as well. Well, I think this is LMS Suburban stock, but from my point of view, I mean, even though it's nice to get all the exact rolling stock to go with everything, I ran this railway, really started it off because of the lockdown, and it was keeping me amused during the lockdown, and I was hoping to make videos which will keep be of interest to people, and maybe get my hobby out to other people. And I appear to be moderately successful at that at the moment. I'm getting near 200 subscribers, so if any of you have been watching my videos, you're thinking of subscribing, please do it if you can. It would mean a lot to me. I'm getting so close to the 200 mark on my subscribers, okay? And that would be a wonderful landmark for me to reach on my little channel here. Especially as it's all I've got. I mean, really, I'm running this on a 6 foot by 4 foot layout, which is balanced on a bed, which is why I've not put much scenery on it or decorated it much, really. I mean, I keep on promising to paint the baseboards to make them look a bit more presentable, but I've not really got very far in that yet. We'll do one day. Like I said, I've got a very small little layout here, but I hope to keep your interest, you know, by the descriptions I can give you, and really by the variety of locomotives and rolling stock I've got here. So let's get underway once more then, and we'll have a little look and watch her go around the station. Just on a close look of a good look of Evening Star. Then I've already done a video on Evening Star. I did an unboxing of that and a little more detailed view, sort of going on to the Lazy Sues and everything else, but I didn't show it running with rolling stock, so I thought I'd do that for you tonight as well. Now we are going to be going over the 30-minute filming limit on this camera, and so you'll probably have a little bit of a break in continuity, which I think is a small price to pay to be able to include a little bit more content for you to see. We'll let it go around one more time. As you can hear, very smooth runner this lovely 280. Right, so round we go in just a moment. We'll get onto the points, and then we're going to be going on to our last locomotive for tonight. One which you may have seen in my earlier video I did today. We saw that about Evening Star, and then we're going to go into talk a little bit about Evening Star as well. I may be repeating some of the things I've actually put in my previous video, but I think it'd be really nice to include. Really nice to include this train running with rolling stock, which I didn't do in my previous video. Okay, so just bear with me just one moment. Just going to go ahead, go up there and change the points. There we go. Oh, sorry. Now I just ran out of time on my video recording. I didn't notice. Now I might have lost my thread, okay, so please excuse me, I've lost my thread. It's rather hot up here tonight. And again, like I say, we're very hot and sweaty, like most of us. Well, we've been promised thunder here. I mean, at least it might break this humidity a little bit, if it does happen. But we'll get back to our lovely little 7F, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to run her in. I'm going to watch her go over a point. And I think what we're going to talk about was this actual points configuration here. You will see that it goes in on a curve, and then basically it's sort of curved to the right and then to the left to come into the station. So we'll watch her go in now. Beautiful 7F. Especially built for the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. Unique. So it really proves how important the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway was to the Midland, who designed and supplied these locomotives. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, originally for freight, like I said, but then on those busy summer Saturdays in the 1950s, they would be pressing to service on express passenger trains as well. Now our last locomotive is going to be the mighty 9F. Okay, you can see right in front of you there, Evening Star. The last locomotive built for British Rail, the last steam locomotive, it was built at Swindon Works, okay, and so what they did on this was that they gave it some Swindon touches, okay. Beautiful brass or copper cap chimney there. The brass whistles or safety valves there, and it was also painted green rather than black. I mean, the 9Fs were normally black as they were freight locomotives, but this particular one was painted green as it was a very special locomotive, and it was designed to go straight really out of service into the National Collection. So it was the only locomotive that was actually built especially for the National Collection. And Evening Star came to the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway in 1962, and we shall talk about that in just a moment once we've got our points all changed properly and we're ready to go. So just bear with just a few seconds again, and then we're getting on to our last locomotive of the evening. Now, as far as variety of locomotives on the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, I've literally scratched the surface. Okay, that's what I've done. I've barely scratched the surface. You might see other locomotives on the Somerset and Dorset, like the standard class system of locomotives, like this 9F, the faithful 2Ps, 440s. Bullet Pacifics, either rebuilt or unrebuilt. Really a whole load of different ones. You can see our 9F coming out of there now, and you can see again over those points beautifully. I mean, look at that. So again, no problem handling the points. It's a 210O locomotive, originally built for heavy freight on British Rail. Now, to bear in mind that when these steam locomotives were designed Britain was in the process of rebuilding its railways after the Second World War. And there's a great necessity to get things moving again. And I think, literally hundreds and hundreds of standard class locomotives of various guises like these were actually built for passengers and freight. Okay, so away we go. Now it's putting 3 southern coaches, which is perfectly right for this locomotive. On the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, I believe that on the occasion it came onto the S&D, it did pull green coaches. and it was given it was actually brought on to the Somerset in Dorset to actually pull the last point express. The Point Express ran from Manchester to Bournemouth daily and came in over the Somerset in Dorset, and in fact it was the main train of the Somerset in Dorset. I think the Point Express started in about the 1920s and eventually finally ran in September of 1962, and then from then on in, all through trains were actually taken off the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, and as S&D was going to be used for local services only. I think you still had Bristol to Bournemouth trains and things like that coming along, but in effect that was the end of the glory days of the S&D. Now apparently, from recollections, I've by sort of watching programmes like All Changes at Evercreech Junction, that was actually filmed in the 1980s. If you want to look that one up, All Changes at Evercreech Junction, you'll see the recollections of Donna Bill and Peter Smith. Peter Smith was Donna Bill's fireman, Donna Bill the driver, and they worked together for quite a few years on the Somerset in Dorset as a team, and they can recollect Evening Star coming onto the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway in quite a filthy condition, unfortunately, and it was cleaned up for the last Point Express, and in fact Peter Smith was given the honour of driving the last Point Express. Now from then on, the Point Express was diverted, but then I think it disappeared completely then in the late 1960s. Now like I say, our lovely Evening Star there, a 210 locomotive, really the probably most powerful locomotive that would have ever gone over the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. And the original reason they were brought to the Somerset and Dorset, I think 4 were drafted in 1960. I think it would have been obviously the black versions. That was to alleviate again the situation where of double heading all the time. These locomotives were more than capable of pulling a heavy express passenger train over the Somerset and Dorset without any assistance. You do see them double-headed sometimes, okay, but that was sometimes only to save for the engine movements, where, for example, they were saving an engine and moving light engines over Keach Junction. But really, these did not need assistance at all. And in fact, the last Point Express, driven by Peter Smith, I think it was something 400 tons unaided over the Somerset and Dorset, with no pilot engine. And of course now you can see this locomotive in the National Collection. I mean to go up to the National Collection in York. Obviously it would be quite an undertaking to travel up from Bristol, where I live. Sorry about my phone if it made some noise in the background. I should have switched the notifications off, but there we are. Okay, so we can see this train go around now. Like I say, I wanted you to see this with the Southern coach. I think it looks rather nice. A green engine going along there with the lovely Southern coaches there as well. In fact, even though the Midland actually originally were there, I think, to provide the motive power, and the Southern provided the rolling stock, I think, a lot of the time. In fact, we ended up with them being supplied by both, so you could very often, the most common Southern engine you could see on the Somerset and Dorset was the Bullet Pacifics, but they would very often be double-headed with something like a 4F, sometimes even a 7F combination I think they might have had on there, or standard class locomotives as pilot engines. Like I say, but these engines were powerful enough to go unassisted. Now, I think I'll break things off now. Now, if you like what you see, please press like. Please subscribe as well if you're not subscribed before. You don't have to pay a subscription, it's all free. Okay, it's just, and ring that bell as well on there. Click on the bell and click for all content, and that way you'll be alerted to all new videos from me. Okay, so now I'm going to have, at some point I'm going to have to take this railway down for tonight, rather reluctantly, because this is where I'll be sleeping. Okay, it's why it's called Bedstead Junction. You can see why it's called Bedstead Junction now. We've seen my headboard down there. Okay, well, now we've got my little trains running round tonight. Okay, so thank you very, very much for watching. Thank you for your interest, and I shall bid you farewell and good night.